All right, everyone. Welcome to the beginning of the end as we dive into the first four chapters of the Thousandfold Thought. And I do have to give my co-host a quick shout out. I've kind of had a chaotic week or two. He's been very flexible with the timing for this, so I'm glad we could get it done. And we took a little week off as well, and even still, kind of had to just scrounge this timing together a little awkwardly, but we're here, and that's what matters.
That's all that matters. And don't worry, don't sell yourself short. I mean, I had to. We both had to reschedule a few times, almost every episode.
Hey,
Actually, now I think about it, and it's
yeah, fair
mostly been
enough,
my
fair
fault.
enough.
So it's okay. It's not. I'm always willing to be flexible.
Hey, we're getting it done. We've only got, I mean, this is the first of four remaining episodes, right? So
Yeah,
we're in the home stretch. And in fact, we're on the final march. And I thought this is pretty cool how like the last book was split into three parts.
yes,
First, second, third. Now we've just got the final march to Shima, and it's like it's as if they separated the book into a part, but I mean like it's just redundant because all 17 chapters are in here. But yeah, I mean the implications of the last book are already shining through. And of course, as Baker does, it's pretty much just a worst case scenario for everybody, but a pretty excited opening here. So it's been a while since we have been within a Saswatha dream, I feel like, right? But I mean, and I actually think it was
I
fitting that we
think
got a
so.
little more of an illustration for this one because he's getting tortured by a non-man. Um, and I'm not gonna bother to try to pronounce the name of that non-man, but um, yeah, I think that kind of fits into the additional lore and additional scene we got at the end of the last book, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So, but that is just the start of our dream for Kamion, and in terms of the more immediate things that are going down, probably a little less relevant because Akamion finally contacts Natsura within the dream. First of all, I mean, everyone's just been under the impression that he's dead, I guess, because he's just been hiding out for a while, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, because they thought since they got the word that Akka was captured by the Scarlet Spires, so
yeah, right. And they come up too as well here because he spills the beans that it is the end of the world, and that's I think it's here that Akka kind of reflects on the fact that um, you know after years and years and years of that end of a world being inevitable, still it just has a particular gravitas. Now that's the real deal. So I mean, functionally, Akka is kind of just instantly forgiven for deceiving the mandate because of just how groundbreaking this is. And it's funny here because one of their first thoughts is like, finally, like we're gonna be laughing at him now, um, you know, uh, like how are the Scarlet Spires gonna look upon us now,
yeah,
etc.
yeah, being all types high and mighty and say, yeah, we were the ones you guys looked down upon in the past. Now look who's laughing now.
Right, right, exactly.
We're the mad ones.
But yes. So yeah, it gives them the full rundown, and but Sarah, I mean, it gets a little confrontational. I guess that's worth mentioning. Uh, what's Akka brings up Inru, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. Um, but in the end, Akka's not necessarily getting a punishment right now for withholding this information, but he is getting instructions, which are just to give Kellis a little taste of the Gnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what Nasura suggests is that we teach them the basics, but no, and
The low
not
cans, I
the
think, right?
yes, yeah, but not the core of their secret knowledge. And Akka's kind of like, dude, like you think I can deceive this guy, like
Yeah,
you are
exactly. Mhm.
gravely mistaken. Um, but anyway, that's kind of the takeaway for now. And as we'll see throughout the part, Akka is still incredibly conflicted on as to
Still anger.
how he's feeling about Kellis. Yes.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Now, meanwhile, The vibes are up for the Holy War, with Callus resurrected. There actually there are some depictions, or like illustrations being made of like the crucifixion,
Mm-hmm.
that are noted actually not to have Survey in them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, as Akka looks upon him, she's still there to him, in a sense. But I mean, it is positive vibes for Kellis right now. He's marking his followers with the symbol of the tusk. Um, and then, yeah, prisoners are given the option to submit to Kellis and be enslaved. Otherwise, they will be executed. Um, but yeah, regardless, Akka just cannot stop thinking about Esminette. Um, and um, So, we see his conflict. And then there's a description as well, that I took note of Esme and Kellis, before we see Kellis and Akka having a little chat, where she is now wearing a core. And
Mm-hmm.
that is just the biggest FU. Like, I understand that it's just kind of like now that she is like sort of in a position of power in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
like, and like Kellis is wearing one too, of course. It is, it's nothing personal really. It's just sort of a statement of, I guess, power and defense, etc. But I mean, I saw that as very personal imagery. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how long that sticks around Kellis's neck. But um, they do end up having a little chat, and in a sense, it at first it kind of feels like back to old times. I mean, not for long, but like even sort of the initial responses. Let me see if I have anything written down. Um, yeah, no, okay, never mind. I do not. Yeah, and something I guess I will throw out now is that I do not have my book with me today, unfortunately. But I guess to keep it high level, Kellis basically argues that Aga's humiliation is like kind of a spiritual test, and um, the true meaning comes from how he sort of responds to the degradation. Um, he has also captured a skin spy who we see spits out something. So this I did write down. "We will cut you from your meat" was one of the quotes,
Mm-hmm.
and I have some ideas about what this could potentially relate to or imply. But I don't know if I feel like it might be a little unfair just because of some of the ways that I've heard people talk about some of the later books.
Not
All I will
saying.
say is that stood out to me, but I don't want to really get into why that stood out to me because I don't
Mm,
want it to necessarily imply like unfair knowledge I have of the consult or things of that nature right now.
okay.
Uh, but um, but yeah, I mean, another little bit in terms of the Akka Kellis exchange, that I thought was of note, was in reference to Esme's love. Akka, like, it basically is thinking of himself, like with respect to Kellis, like, then give it back if it's something that she still has for him,
Mm-hmm.
but also has for Kellis, which I mean, and that's the thing. Like, we talked a lot about this last time, how while essentially, um, like we can sympathize with Akka as he basically just walked back to his world being completely dismantled by Kellis. Um, like at the same time, the way in which he still almost views Esme as like a lost possession, I think is still just made apparent just about every time he thinks on her, which makes it a bit more frustrating. And um, I don't know. I know you're not an Akka fan. Well,
I like I
so
said.
here's the thing. I know he's in a sense. I know he's your favorite character, like because of the first character syndrome.
Yeah,
But
you know.
I know you also like in this regard. I know you have like you take absolutely none of his BS.
Yeah, well, he's just whining. I hold him to accountable. Mhm.
Yes, exactly. Which I think is very fair. Um, but yeah, I mean, basically, like I said, I probably should have. I should have made more note of the substance of this conversation, but I essentially, The state of things are, um, you know, Kellis is still basically trying to tell Akka how to feel about everything, why he should be accepting everything, um, and basically in now his position of power where um, like Kellis kind of knows that Akka knows that he's been manipulating him.
Mm,
And it's kind of like, all right, you know, this is for the greater good type of situation.
yeah,
So deal with it, and I know best.
suck it up. Mm,
So he dips. Akka kind of has a little breakdown. I think he pukes, right?
yep.
Isn't that
He
correct?
pukes at the end. Yep.
Yes. And yeah, that's about how we start off.
Yeah, because the one thing, well, first thing first, the at the beginning of the chapter, when when Akka connected with Notsera, and Notsera's dreaming of I guess the time in, I think it's Dagley Ash is the city, or is that a country? But they're in Dagley Ash, and he's getting tortured by the non-man. The non-man's name is McCarrick. Just a little throw out there. I grabbed my book and I was like, I forgot his name. Um, and he was a prince, a prince a long time ago. He knew the original. He was like really really old, and people. He was known for his nobility. This is all in the book, so it's not like, oh, spoiler and alert.
Yeah, yeah.
At least in, I think, the first four chapters, he was well known. He was well respected. That's why when no, Sarah, aka Seswatha in this case, is like, you're, this is not you. You are a changed person. I know there's good in you. Like this is not who you are. You wouldn't torture people like this. He's like, and it got to boils
Well,
down
they
to the
said
point.
he had lived like 100 lifetimes, right?
Yeah,
Or was it 1,000 lifetimes? And
exactly.
like he had seen every positive memory, but it's just gotten like overwritten by like all the, you know,
Bad. Yeah. So
whatever
he's like,
BS he's went through.
yeah, I think the term they used, if off the top of my head, this is not even me looking, it's off the top of my head. Was, it's like arrogant slaver. So somebody that's been an old arrogant slave. Is how he said, kind of tries to describe it. McCarrick, meaning like, you've, at one point when you were young you were good, but as you got older you got to be more jaded, and been hard and labored and just mentally and physically beat down to basically nothing, and you're just a husk. So that was one thing I did like about the little exchange between McCarrick and North Sarah, and seeing some of the past memories of Seswatha. And now that you mentioned with the I think mentioned it last book with or was it last book, or it could have been the first one. I think it was the second. It was Warrior Prophet with Kellis seeing a lot of strength in Akka, and you think it might have been him glimpsing Seswatha in a sense. Um, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. That actually might be true. So that was that you get to see that's where that strength comes from in real time.
So, well, potentially true. Now, here's the because you bring up a different, I think maybe counterpoint, which is the sense that, yeah, clearly, like I think, you know, there might be some Siswatha tie-ins there,
Hmm.
but with respect to this non-man guy who's just been through it and now, you know, it hardens him a bit. I think that also ties into a little bit of Akka as well, and you know, some of his experiences with the torture. So maybe a little bit of both. Um, but I also think it's an interesting thing that you bring that up because I I think this is in might be one of your chapters, maybe mine, coming up here. But you have now you're kind of contemplating, you know, what his baby is going to be like.
Yeah, that's one of
You
my
know,
chapters.
like
I think that's the
yeah,
next
yeah,
chapter.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that tracks. But like I don't know, we're sort of back to this like nature versus nurture thing, or like just sort
Hmm.
of the ideas of like people being shaped by
Their
you
environment.
know,
But what
their
comes
environment. Yeah,
before? That's the thing. That's the whole point. What is coming before?
exactly,
What
exactly.
is the nature of what comes before is the nurture? I don't know. Anyways,
Totally. But like
um,
yeah, I feel like we got a little maybe a little I mean we did totally see that on display in the last book, but maybe
mm,
less so as reflections than in the first book.
yeah.
But
Um,
anyway.
okay.
I
Yeah.
digress. Yeah, I think we're clear to move on to chapter two, unless there was anything else big I missed, which there could
Uh,
have been.
no, I don't think so. I mean, it's just like the whole scene with Akka going to see Kellis and um him kind of I him Oh, well, there's one thing I did want to mention, and it's like with Note Sarah, and I guess he kind of comes back as well, I think in my chapter, in chapter 4 at the end, with like Note Sarah's like, you need to pretty much possess him, and and Akka's like, this dude can't be possessed. Like he's above men or beyond my capabilities. It's like you can't trick him to get everything out of him. You can't control him. Like he's gonna control us in the end. Like that's just how it is.
I mean,
So
yeah, but the thing is, you can't even blame Sarah for not comprehending this
yeah, because he
because, I
doesn't
mean,
know. That's why Akka's like you
Akka
need to see
spent a
him in
year with
person.
Callus, hasn't
Mm,
said anything. I
mm,
mean, we've spent like a book and a half with Callus. We're still trying to figure him out. This guy's just getting this bomb dropped on him. Like, Akka, be lucky that he's showing you some mercy here. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So,
yeah,
knowledge gap.
knowledge gap indeed. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. So let me move on to chapter 2. Okay, so yeah, we open up like you're mentioning with Nayor, and he's kind of going through the compound. They're still in Karaskan right now. I think they leave Karaskan, I think in either your chapter or my next chapter. And he's wandering through the halls, and people are giving him deference. And yeah, I don't know. He feels conflicted about the whole situation. And I remember he grabs like one of the chambermaids, I guess chambermaids or one of the servants, that slaves that's like working in the palace, and grabs her by the throat and says, "Where is basically the baby?" And she points it out to the way he's like, he's just very savage and is like, I could crush her though. It feels good to have that like power. I guess he still is reeling from the lack of power in his mind. Um, so he ends up going to see his baby, which is Moangus. Um,
Hold on. By the way, quick timeout here. I was like 100% under the impression at the end of the last book that
yeah,
they'd
I
killed
know.
Moegas.
Yeah, I didn't correct you. I was gonna wait for you to get that. I made a similar mistake one time, like on a later book, and then no one corrected me in the Discord, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm entirely wrong." And it's like, "Yeah, we know." I was like, "Damn."
But yeah, dude, I mean, like, the thing is, I thought Baker at least had the heart in him to like kind of glaze over a baby being murdered, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I took it as like he was like implying it subtly.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of that chapter where Serway and Callus got, basically put up against. But yeah, clearly I was wrong. So
Yeah, and once you said it, I was like, "Oh, oh." But you know, but he also, I mean, he mentions it in book in the second book where I think I even said it in my chapter review because it was my chapter. Esmondette was carrying Moengas when she went to go see Serway and Kellis. So um yeah, it was there. Um um yeah. Anyways, back to the chapter 2. So he also has like kind of like thoughts about like how he wants to go once he goes to see Moangus. He thinks about like what the baby represents and how much like children and like little kids, like the innocence of little kids is like the humans are compared to Kellis, and Kellis is basically just like an orchestrator, basically the parent being able to control everyone because everyone else is toddlers in his eyes, and what that represents to mankind. Um, and as he's kind of contemplating and also wondering um, what he should do to kind of, I don't want to say thwart Kellis, but like try to gain some sort of agency back, he was thinking of stealing Moengus and taking him back to the steppe and raising him like uh, a Skilvendi,
still
like
Vendy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus, like Skilvendi, like how he should have been raised, how he thought he should have been raised, and not make the same mistakes he made, I guess. Um, and he, as he's kind of contemplating touching the child, and he was about to touch her, and then Esme comes in and was like screeching, and they used to tell him to stop. And and she had like so much power behind her words, and that kind of causes him to halt when he tries to, and she admonishes him about his actions. And of course, Esme was backed up with guards ready to attack. And she said, "Put your steel swords away. Calm down, everyone. Calm down." Um, and so we'll say that was pretty much kind of the end of like the kind of like um the encounter. I mean, they exchanged a few words, and it kind of left um Nayor an emotional state, but there was not really anything much that I can remember that really stuck out. So then after that, we swap to Akka's POV, where he's packing to go to Kellis's palace. He's with Zen, and him and Zen were basically arguing whether he should stay or go, and how Proyas really forgives him is not. And Akka's like, well, it's not really. I'm not really. He might have forgiven me, but I haven't forgiven him, and I'm on my way to. I have a mission. I have responsibilities to do. It's like, and Zan's like kind of tries to guilt trip him. He's like, "You just gonna leave me here?" And he's like, You can come too." He's like, "I can't go see this guy, Kellis. Kellis will just, I don't know. He's afraid of what Kellis will see when he sees Zen. And Zen is like, "I just don't have the stomach." And neither one of them have the stomach. So Tagore goes, talked about the situation. Uh, uh, so um, Zen, Zen basically tells Akka, say, "Hey, can you talk to him for me?" And Akka's like, "Okay." And so after he packs up and leaves, we move back to Esme, and she's going through more. I wrote down morning or her morning routine, and she's reflecting on her circumstances, how she came from basically the bottom, as even worse than like a slave. Well, I don't say worse than a slave, but basically the bottom, from like a poor and Sumna to um to basically a religious cult, of married to a religious cult figure. I don't, maybe you would call it a cult, or well, just a high ranking religious figure. And having so much power, slaves upon slaves do your bidding, and X, Y, and Z. And she's like, how things have changed. She still kind of defaults back to wondering whether she worries about is worthy of this stuff. She's like, all the luxury she has now, like her makeup sets. She was like, I would kill to have these makeup sets back when I was at war. But like things have changed now. This is all just rudimentary, this is standard stuff. And we kind of see it a little bit later, so we get to see kind of like her getting dressed, getting washed, having her her handmaids in a sense. So there's like three of them, and then there's one also the lady that takes care of Mo Angus. That doesn't really like anyone in the palace right now. But I'm not really gonna get into that because it's not really that important. But um, she was like one of the most important things was like she's given. I think we mentioned it. I don't remember if it was book the Warrior Prophet. She's given status above a lot of people in Kelsey's Aldignani, and she has like actual actual valuable input that she can actually control. So when she goes and meets was the dude's name? Ooh, one of the, like a ranked official in Werjiao. Um, to talk about some of the graffiti that's been spread around for Orthodox propaganda, like old remnants of, as we know from conference, is like trying to stir the pot. And apparently, the people that wrote the graffiti were basically given instructions that they don't know how to read. They just drew the symbol, or draw the diagram of whatever they saw on the piece of paper, and they didn't. They were just following instructions, and they got paid for it. And Esme easily without like any like kind of remorse or hesitation just says, all right, flog them and hang them and flog flay and hang them, um with no like just a matter of just as a matter of fact is like had no um had no weight to it to her. It's like it seems like standard. It's just like how and she reflects is like that's kind of scary because of how much I've changed. Because like in the past, like I wouldn't even know what to do with some such power. I would actually be considering that. But like now I can just say her actions or her words can produce such action without with the slightest whim, and it will be acted upon. It'll be matter of fact, not just a consideration. It's something that will be done. And this is like also ties into the fact that not only is she a willing able to voice her opinions and be honest, like everyone has that ability to just be open. Like Kel said, his point is to tear down ego and misconception amongst his people so that we all can speak our mind freely. Or I say our mind, Jesus, he's working behind the scenes. See, scary stuff. He can the people, the Zaldjiani and the people in his circle can just speak their minds freely and be honest with each other without having any misconceptions. So it's in a way it can be good, and then it's a good thing in a way, but at sometimes it's like that's kind of scary that he's able to just like break people down, and basically that's this form of control. So no one's above anyone else really, other than really Esme, but that's because she's married to the warrior prophet. So that's one thing. And we get a little bit of a peek onto what the Scarlet Spires are doing. Because it says a Nonai like merchant or Nonai customer was killed, and he was like, it's got to be the Scarlet Spires, um, planning something or ready to do something, and it's like we need to be cautious and be ready, and we have to ask what's going on with them. Um, I guess I think that's pretty much it when I have from that. Um, at
Yeah, no, I think so. Because I mean,
least for Esme
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Well, in relation to the Scarlet Spires, that'll version a little more so into the next chapter. Um, so,
Okay. Oh,
um,
there's one other thing. Sorry, there's a big thing that the most important thing of the Esme and Weirjiao meeting was that we learned that how Kellis is trying to cleanse out the skin spots out of the holy war. He's been having everyone tasked to do daily check, or I don't know how the time that's period of time, but they have check-ins to see if anyone has like any weird behaviors. They call it the list. So a list of people that have weird changed behaviors or a change in appearances that are different from normal. So um and so those people will be added to the list, and then they will be brought forth to Kellis, and Kellis can then do some changes, or just to confirm that they're not skin spies or not. So, and some people have been misusing them. They've caught like only a few handful of skin spies, but most of them have escaped or disappeared overnight. But yeah, um, um, I think.
hey,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Here, so yeah, no, 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 go ahead.
So I think after that we go to another SB, but it's a little bit later, where the Nisenti are doing like hosting prayers and like right near the tree. I forgot the tree. I keep forgetting the tree's name. Something with an U. Um, and this where like people are like going through sermons, and they are going through and it's gotten like super popular, so they have to have like basically do like a lottery system of like who can go get in, who can't. And she sees Proyas there at the back, and he's just normal clothing. He's not like in the high regalia or anything like that, and he's just and she notices like how he suffers because he's like I guess we think we I guess there was a I don't know if it was your chapter or my chapter where Boreas had a conversation with Kellis, and
Oh yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was your chapter. So that's the next chapter. But you can see him like this, kind of the beginnings of that, where he's just like in just an agony, mental agony of just like what he's committed to not only Kellis but also Akka. So it's just like a double whammy. And she doesn't. And she kind of has a little bit of, I don't want to say disdain, a little bit of a um, dislike for Proyas at the current moment of time. Um, and then we jump again later on point for Esme. As After, I guess after the meal, she went to go get a book in her old quote unquote library, which is where Akka is basically, and that's where they first meet again after the whole go save Kellis moment. She didn't even really believe that Aqua was really there, which is ironic because that's exactly kind of like a payback to when she went to go see Akka the first time during the Holy War. Remember that, where he walked right past her and she didn't see, and he didn't see her.
Yeah, in book one.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in that way. But this
Yeah.
one's kind of was way worse. Akka was like going through like a mental breakdown of like things he saw, and he didn't intentionally just like, oh, well, but I it she I give her an excuse in a sense. I blame more so Cal's for that. Um,
I blame Kellis for just about everything nowadays, except I think there's still some Akka stuff that I think is Akka is to blame for. But
yeah, oh yeah, there's plenty. But yeah. But she went to go see the book and she was like, oh man, this is gonna be super awkward. She went to go get a book for it from a book on Agensis. I think it's like Prodigal of Men, number volume 3. Damn it. If that is true, if that was the title of the book, I'm surprised I pulled it out on my top of my head. Um, and they're having like a little awkward exchange, and he's basically like, what does Kells need the book for? And she's like, I can read, you fool. And he's like, and he looks at her as like, dude, I never thought you couldn't be able to read. Like, I never assigned gender to ability. So, and she's like, kind of, I guess, somewhat of abashed, but like just based on the look. But as Akka tries to kind of cozy up and tries to be nice, and basically, I wrote down test the waters, test the waters and see how loyal she really is to the Kellis. And she's walking out the door, and he's like, you were my, I was your world, right? I was your life. And she's like, yeah, but Kellis is my world. I was like, damn. And then literally the next chapter is Kellis and Esme clapping cheeks. So it was literally just like Bakker just on the nose, just like, let me just dunk on this dude Akka right now. Um, and basically she was talking to Kellis in bed, and she's like, well, I went to go see him. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, he still doesn't forgive me. He's like, yeah, no one, like, we betrayed him. And then notice how at the beginning he says we betrayed him. It's like, actually you betrayed him. It's like, this is what I wrote in the group chat and in the Discord. I said, Kells is the most gaslight of men. It's like he really knows how to. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a collective. Actually, it's a collective effort. We all made mistakes. Actually, you know what? You made the most mistake here. You're the one that's really at fault, and it's because of X, Y, and Z. Some insecurities you have. It's like you're the one that really made this mistake. I mean, I was kind of there, but you're the one that really sealed it home. And it's like the only way you can be forgiven is if he somehow forgives you. There's no way we can make it up to you. No one can make it up to you. Which is, and in that aspect, right, is right. Like no one else can make it up to you, but it's up to Akka to be the one to forgive, and which is kind of true. But him blaming Esme there in a sense, I was like, this dude's the king of gaslighters. Like I said, it's like no one's ever been, no character I think at least I have read has ever been written to be this much of a gaslighter and to work. It's infuriating. It pissed me off.
yeah,
Um, I think that was basically it of that part, and then we moved to the last bit with Eleazar was talking to Iagas, and of course Ellie's drunk as per usual, and he basically breaks down. Is like, yeah, toss to Iacus and said, yeah, the mandate were right about everything. Those are consult spies, and Iacus is like, um, it's like, why are you like going crazy? He's like, because Kellis really saw me for who I was and basically tore all the misconceptions about myself and just told me who I truly was. And it just rattles me to the core. And basically, that's why he's been drinking and he's been slovenly. And Iacus is like, even as a cans addict, this guy Iacus, I mean, this guy Eliasmus has turned into a real chump. It's like he used to be good, but now he's washed. We might have to go do something about it. I'm like, when did you become the head of the Scarlet Spires?
Well, listen, I
Um,
do have to say, I love the way that kind of like the visual like tropes and stereotypes of sorcerers are kind of just torn apart here. Like just throughout the series. Like
mm,
obviously like we have Akka as like a major character who is
mm,
you know far from flawless.
yeah, very
But
far.
yeah. But I like the depiction personally.
Yeah. Um, and so it's just like, okay, Iacus was like, okay, well, like, what are we gonna do about this? Like, I don't know what to really do. We got to kind of reconvene here eventually. It's like, but I'm gonna say, I was like, okay, you need to figure out what you need to do. But I'm gonna go see this warrior prophet guy, and I'm going to see what is he really a fraud or not. And yeah, that's pretty much it. He said he's gonna set up a meeting with Kellis, and he's gonna go see him, and he's just left in a drunken stupor.
Well, sounds like a plan to me. We'll see how that goes down.
Yeah.
In chapter three. So yeah, bulk of the start of the chapter is a very sort of typical scene we've seen before, but under new circumstances, where we see a little meeting of the great names, and Nayor is just spectating there, watching out. You know, Kellis just has everyone in a snare. But yeah, I mean, what's interesting here is like it- truly this time there's a bit of a difference where like guys that would be ripping on each other previously are like now much more, I guess, kind of like acting much more pious and just devoted towards Kellis. So there seems to be a different tone. And yeah, I like there's sort of an implication here that even if none of this works out, like Kellis has left some sort of legacy. This will he's done some substantial work here. So and he's still being tactful. So I feel like what's interesting is now, Kellis is in a position where people just listen to his commands. But he's not even kind of taking that like sort of tactic with it. So like Salvan like stands up, for instance, and um, he's kind of, he's already secured his bag. He's got Karascan here. But Kellis is, kind of like um, it sort of implies to him that like it's your choice, but like that would be, out of the bounds of you know, conducting this holy war and whatnot on like, under some sort of pious religious pretext, right?
Yeah, they said basically what he said. That if you don't march, you're damned.
Right. Yeah, straight up.
Because Kellis is, I think it was in my chapter, but Kellis was like basically saying like, I am the Enrithi religion now. What I say goes. So
Right.
you're free to do what you want. You can stay, but just know. That's why Cloudman was like at the end was like, please don't make me do this. Please don't say this. It's like if you don't march, you're like your souls will be damned.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, but like, yeah. So the thing is, like, he basically has the power to command a situation to like everyone is a pawn on his chessboard, but at the same time, like, um, he is like, but it's not by way of telling them what to do. It's a like just know you're screwing up if you don't listen to me type of vibe.
Exactly.
Um, so um. So that was one person who spoke up. Now we've chatted about this a little bit, right? How you've been like kind of doing the immersion read, where I've been like mostly physically reading. Um, but as I mentioned earlier, I was like doing some traveling in between reading these sections, and I had to make a shift over to the audiobook for chapters 3 and 4. So. Um, I finally like this at least I feel like I might have heard Confice's voice before, but just in contrast to like the like peaceful, like similar to the narrator's voice of Kellis, like it was so just jarring. Um I mean basically I guess what happens here to actually explain it is Kellis just tears him to shreds. Calls him out as like a because Confice is, trying to stand up as usual to Kellis, not happy with any of um, you know, any of this, even after all that went down at the end of the last book, which, I wasn't sure how, I mean, not necessarily that his opinions would be swayed, but I thought maybe he would, you know, try to be operating a bit more behind the scenes in terms of, not being down for Kellis. But yeah, I mean, he calls him like a prideful man. I'm paraphrasing here, but um, basically just makes him look like a complete dip. Um, so. Um, Yeah, and then he doesn't he does let Confus just kind of walk out and leave. Um, but and one of my always observations here is Confus still has the Nancer behind him. But um like so he's still being crafty with it as usual. But it's he's put to shame,
Yeah,
I
very
guess
much so.
is the simple way to put it. Um yeah, so then afterwards, what do we have? Yeah, so we get Proyas after that, and then he's reflecting on how he's like ashamed for previously opposing Kellis at the end of the last book, and then Kellis. I think after some missteps with Proyas at the end of the last book, like he's gotten a better sense on how to play this guy, especially given the framing as like since Proyas now is like it's since it's Pius Proyas, he's a
Pious
religious
bros, I
man.
like that.
Like that's the he's leveraging his sort of position as the warrior prophet here, right? So here, wait. Anyway, okay, so yeah, Kellis like kind of explains to him like Proyas like it's just what's to be expected. Like people are going to act on like what they believe is true. And Proyas feels, forgiven and understood. Um, but he does fill Nayor in later on the fact that Kellis intends to leave him behind and monitor Confis. Um, and we'll get back to Nayor in a sec, but what I was hinting on earlier is that things are not done between Iakis and the Scarlet Spires, at least within this little phase. So he's summoned to meet Kellis, but who he runs into instead is a Kamion. And um, I think we get a serious display here. I think now that it's more of a sort of even playing field, that the Gnosis is the real deal. So yeah, Akka just is not taking any of the BS. He's got kind of like Gnosis wards up on like everything that Iax tries to pull. And in the end, um, it was Iacus that blinded Cynemus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, an eye for an eye, in the literal sense. Um,
Yeah.
so um, that's how that works out. And yeah, so Akka gets his revenge, and yeah, I'm interested to see, going from here, how the dynamics keep up between the two schools, particularly as the mandate, is really like at large going to establish itself in more of a position of power. So,
Yeah.
but we got to a taste here. Now, it is pretty epic what the Scarlet Skies, excuse me, Scarlet Spires can do. So,
Yeah, the dragon
um,
head and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that reminded me, it was the Scarlet Spires that were with Confus, when they attacked, the Skilvendi back in book one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, no, 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 no. It was the Imperial Sake.
Okay. But all right. So they, because the drag, it was because of the dragon head that so I guess. But you have hit on before how like these, like the different schools have, and like we were kind of talking about it a little bit in the last book, how like they're capable of similar things, even if the methods are
Hmm.
would deviate. Right. Um, but yeah. So the mandate comes out on top today. Um, and yeah, so that's that. But then the way the chapter ends is with a little Nayor sequence again. Um, so yeah, he, going nuts as he usually is. He dreams about Serway, and then um, he seems to see her as he wakes up beside his fire, and he basically then goes on a chase. This reminded me of some of the earlier Lost episodes. If you know, you know. But um, yeah, so he's in his head as per usual, but basically gets led to like Phantom burial grounds. And here, surprise, surprise, it's not Surway. It is in fact though a skin spy. Um, and uh, yeah, so brief little struggle, and then the raven-like thing with the human face shows up and starts speaking to him. Um, and basically hits him with the, I like an understanding of how moved he is by Kellis, and um, like reveals to him that the consul is aware that his true obsession is hunting down Moangus, which of course we know. Um, and then yeah, Nayor at this point I guess is kind of defiant that like nothing really like binds him anymore. But the consult argues very interestingly, because this is also a Dunyan philosophy, um, that the past kind of controls everyone. So yeah, I mean Nayor kind of trying to be a little rebellious, is deciding he's no longer marching with the Holy War. But council points out, um, this kind of still fits into the big picture. For Hold on, sorry, just a second, I just gotta work. Oh, that's my bad.
Mm.
Okay, sorry, I got a message from work.
That was fine.
Um, yeah. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, basically, I mean, even if Nayor wants to resist, I mean, Proyas basically told him earlier that he wants him to stick around here, right?
Mm.
So, it still all fits. Um, so, driven by hate, as per usual.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Wait, you forgot. I think you forgot the main part. One of the main part, or not the main part. You forgot one thing about the
Oh
after
no, what was it?
the giving the eyes
Oh, with
to Zen.
Eliazarus? Oh,
Yeah,
jeez. Wait.
yeah. It was
All right, here. You
he
want to get into that? Because yeah, again, this is the audio read. So if
yeah.
I
So
go ahead.
Zen or so after he battles Ayakis, he comes back to see Zen, and Zen basically was like, "Did you do it?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Where are they?" It's like there's like on the table, and he's like, "All right, now thanks. Go ahead and leave me." And he's like, and Naga's like, "Well, like, don't what do you need me?" And he's like, "Just leave." And Akka pretends like he leaves. He opens the doors and closes it, and Zen it was feels for the eyeballs, and then he puts those eyeballs in his own eyes sockets.
Yeah.
And he was going to. It was like a whole dialogue for it, and he basically he's mad. He's gone mad. He's kind of is he's losing it, and through like the kind of like the madness, Akka was able to slip out and leave the situation. But uh, I just wanted to throw that little thing in there because that was a
Yeah,
little.
no, totally. I mean, I didn't have it. I didn't have it down. So, um,
Uh,
yeah, I think as I mentioned, but I'll reiterate for the folks here. Yeah, this week was, just a little jumbled. So in terms of the density to detail I took down, probably a little less than usual. So I appreciate the lifting.
it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah,
It's just something that I kind of want to bring attention to. Also, there was one thing I
totally.
did want to mention too, like the beginning of I think the first chapter of this book was with the I forgot to mention we learned something about the nose because when you were talking about the battle I thought about the how he describes McCartrig and says how he's a talks about the Kuya mages and how they are like their power is like so dense and so strong, way stronger than a human with the gnosis, that like being having Korai even near them, they start to salt. And I'm like, that's actually kind of insane. Like they're just like levels above, just like how like a human could have like in Lord of the Rings, I guess the human can use maybe like some small spells and it could be kind of cute, but like when you see like elves use their spells, it's like, okay, yeah, this dude's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and okay, so I remember that, but I wasn't sure if that was exactly because of just how long, like, they've lived, or because it's a different species, or
I don't
just
know.
because of how baller they are with the magic. But I mean, I
I,
guess it all checks out.
I don't
Um,
know. I genuinely don't know, and I can't remember
yeah,
if they ever go into it. So, but I just know that the Kuya mages are just stronger than just normal people with gnosis the mandate ever could be. So, like a Kuya mage will be stronger than Setswalk is like probably like the strongest like wizard, human wizard of all time. But like a Kuya mage probably
I'm
could,
just paling in comparison to
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And he might be go to be able to go toe to toe with him. But if it's Kuya mage, I'm thinking if a Kuya mage, again I don't know if a Kuya mage fought Saswatha, I think that Kuya mage probably if they went serious, he probably would beat him with like a moderate difficulty.
yeah.
So,
Gotcha. Okay.
um, yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to tie in was just that random reminder in my mind and the Zen situation, which is truly tragic. Someone needs to talk to that guy. That someone needs to be callous, gaslight him into being happy, I guess.
Sounds good. Got it. Got it. All right. Well, I think for chapter three, I mean, that's all I had. But if you did want to uh go into anything else, we totally could. But otherwise,
No,
um,
not really. Um, yeah, nothing really good with that. It's like Nayor's just like fantasy of just trying to reclaim. Jesus, these spam calls. Trying to reclaim his proof and his reasons that he's not as bad as he thinks he people think he is. Um
yeah,
yeah.
checks out. Now, I will say, I something I did, I guess, just also want to throw in is that we so often see these like kind of like war council meetings from like typically Nayora's eyes, especially like him observing Kellis.
Mm,
I wish we got a little more of that from Kellis. Like I feel like previously I understood like it wanting to all be like shrouded in mystery, but
mm,
like now we're seeing the problems he has to deal with, and like I don't know. I'm hoping we get a good bit more Kellis POV this book, but I
mm.
don't doubt that we will.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Chapter 4 it is then. So unfortunately, this is where one of my friends' favorite character meets his demise. So we open up with Zarias, who we haven't heard from since book one. He was not at all in book two. Um, at least I don't think. I mean, if he was, he would only be in part one. I don't think he was in any of the other parts. Um, and he is thinking about the situation. He's looking wistfully, let's say wistfully, from his balcony um, to where the Shaima would be in the Holy War is currently the Manitusk are currently at. and we find out that his mother or his one of his former his new guardsmen, because the old one got killed during the interrogation of Scales, um, went to go to get him because his mother was asking for him. And his mother is Stria. Um, okay, the guardsman was Scala. I wrote it down. Captain of the guard. And so he's like, okay. He's drinking out of a bowl, as kingly men do, and is again unnecessary and just like unprovoked. No one asked this dude to do this. He said, "I imagine someone's going to steal this bowl, and if they do, flog them and parade them around the street." I'm like, okay, dude. It's like, who cares? um, but yeah, so he makes his way to go see his mom, and this dude is just mad horny for some reason. Well, I guess the reason we now know the reason why he was mad horny. He just kept thinking about just I don't know. We all know what he wanted to do, so it's just straight lust. It's just it's even worse than Game of Thrones. Um, actually, it's probably
In
just as
many
bad.
respects.
Yeah. Oh, in many respects, but this moment I was like, "Ugh, no thanks." Um, so she basically wants to ask like what's going on with Compass and what's going on with the Holy War, and he was like, well, Compass got cast out. He's told to wait at this location. I forgot the location's name, and wait for them to get on a ship and take you back to the North Kingdom. Nansor, sorry, kingdom, and Estrella was like, yeah, it's good. This folly is now done, and he's like, you and I both know I'm he has more power than that. Like he's on my orders, he's gonna follow, but he can do whatever he wants. Um, basically over there. So there's gonna be some opportunity that we don't know yet that we think that Zarai is going to tell them to do certain thing to maybe upset the Holy War. Um, so as Estrella was talking, trying to counter that, his lust just overcame him, and he starts trying to feel up on his mom, and reached down to the nether region, and he felt something bulging that shouldn't be there, and he was immediately gassed, like, taken aback. He's like, "Whoa!" He was lost for words, and he couldn't really speak or scream or anything. And her she starts transforming, and her was it her eunuch tries to hold her down, and basically he gets torn apart, and then Zarias screams through the hall. His guards are trying to defend him. Zarias poops his pants literally, and he thinks about, man, like how she like this is how embarrassing my mom would see me poop my pants and all that stuff. And as he was trying to get further and further away, the skin spot eventually lands on him back, and he was cut off mid sentence, and he was killed. Yep, and that was the end of Zarias. Very underwhelming death, and never got to see his dream of reconquering the Nansor Empire to its former glory. Uh, Rest in peace, he won't be missed. That's what I would say. Um, After that, um, we move to perspectives of two boys named Soul and Hortada, and their story really doesn't really matter that much, but they're running through the streets. They're homeless. They don't have food, and Hortada was basically saying, "Oh, follow me to this crowd, this venue where we see Mathanet." He has rumors. He tells Soul there's rumors that Mathanet is making his way towards Shima. He's going to get on a ship and make his way to Shima. And that's basically that was the whole point of this chapter, is that Mathanet is on his way to Shima. But I'll elaborate a little bit. So they go down there, grab some oranges, get some orange rinds, and they see Mathanet. They were given food, and then the guards chased them away, or given a um, orange rinds, and the guards eventually chased Soul away. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention here that I was thinking about is the stark change in personality of Hortata. Is what he's it was what Soul's reflects. He's like he used to be so timid and act so scared of everything. So it got me thinking. I'm like, okay, does this mean that Hortata is a skin spy? Question mark. I originally thought maybe it was a skin spy that might try to kill Nathanet. I don't know, but nothing ended up coming above it. So I was like, okay.
Is this something we will find out
I genuinely don't know.
later?
I can't
Okay,
remember.
fair enough, fair enough.
I don't think so because otherwise I feel like they would have done something with this. But I feel like this was just a plot device just to tell the audience that Nathanet's on the move.
Yeah, checks.
Um, so then we get a zoom out POV from the Holy War, and they have moved out of Karskan. Salbon decided to stay, damning it in the way to damning himself. Um, he tries to keep all the people under his kingdom to stay with him, but only 2,000 people stay. Everyone else just pretty much just abandons them, even though he told them to stay. And he's like, I'm just leaving on my own. Everyone's like, I'm just gonna leave on my own free will. And so it's like a skeleton crew holding Karaskan. The Holy War. Now these people are just pillaging pretty much every city around Nathpania, from side roads that will lead to Shima, just to anywhere. And they rape and killing, the usual. Um, we also learned that some new Enrithi, of course, wants to get on the spoils as soon as all the hard work is already done, and they want to get in on the plunder. So they brave the seas, the winter seas, and make it there. And they reunite with some of the men of the men of the Tusk. And as you can tell, the men of the Tusk are changed. The Holy War men they're totally different. They are hardened men, very Spartan. They don't live in excess. They live what they need to do, and they are very narrowed and very focused on their mission. And it's like they said, I think the Elmo Baker was kind of described as like they are the judges. They judge everyone in their excess. And it's like almost like
Yeah,
the new people that come in are like, man, I'm being judged for like my from being me basically. And I don't know if people they want the approval of the people that have been through this whole great ordeal. um and they they basically are just trying to come to terms with like how to reintegrate some of these people, because some of these people are just like they've seen some stuff and they're just not the same. They're different people. They kind of go into the motions of life, and they're just basically a killing machine. They're obviously all of them have PTSD, so but they are all killing machines. So
they've got like an aura that just invites conformity.
yeah,
You
exactly.
feel out of place otherwise.
Exactly. Even this to the point that even the noblemans that have come to um, the Anathpenia area, like they can't even look at the man of the tusk like in the eye for too long, because it's just unnerving. Like these are some seasoned hard dudes. Um, and yeah, so we see here about mostly a lot of the Anathpenia has been abandoned. Um, and you can see we hear about different members of the Holy Ward, again, as I say, massacring the countryside and killing Kianin. Um, and then we zoom into Akka's POV, and he's reminiscing about the times he's had with Proyas, or he's getting a building connection between the time he's had with Proyas when he was teaching Proyas and at his home his home palace with what he's the situation now, living very luxuriously. Which Aka says like this is like something new for him in the sense that he used to laugh at people in the past for living kind of luxuriously and lavish, but he's like, I kind of like these things kind of right now. It's like I don't know if he feels like he earned it or whatever, but he's like, this is like pretty good. Now, he's like trying to draw connections between like how free he feels in a sense. Um, and but he like every time he sees Esmond, every time he sees like a dead body, he like it kind of gets him out of that hypnosis that I think that Kel's purposely trying to put him through, where everyone's like open and willing and communicating, and no one's really judging each other, just trying to be fair and open, like I was mentioning earlier with Esme, and working with the people in the inner circles of Kellis's crew. Akka's now in that kind of that circle, and he's like, "This is nice. This is like nice and open. We're having dialogue. It's joyful." But then he remembers when he sees Esme and like the dead body's like, we are here on a purpose. Like this is some dark stuff. I'm just like I'm in my own little bubble. Um, so um, he sees the moment where there was like a night tribe. Kels goes to see a tribe leader that was trying to be subservient to try to offer their pledge to the Enrithi because they were originally Enrithi that survived the Kianin siege originally, and they were like, "Oh, like we were survived, we are loyal to the Enrithi religion. Please let's like be under you guys." And Callus immediately sees the guy, and then immediately is like, "Just hang up and kill them all," because he knows that they were really put up to this because the Padi Raja, the son of the Padi Raja, Cascamandri's son, I guess, escaped, and he's trying to stall for some time, so he kidnapped some of these tribes, their wives and children, and says, "We'll let them go if you go and kind of stall for us or kill some of these members and try to do as much damage as you can internally to the Holy War." So Callus is like, "Yeah, no, sir." He ends up killing them all. And Akka then starts to reflect on how he's turning into Sethwatha and how important he's starting to become. Originally, when he was like kind of going through life, he's like, I'm just like a background character. I provide some information. I have some insight, but I'm never really been a person of importance. But now since everyone's showing me deference and calling me the teacher, the warrior prophet's teacher and showing like how important I am. It's so different. I'm becoming like Seswatha, or I provide influence now. So
I think it was a I don't I think it was a much earlier chapter. Maybe we'll forget which one it was. But like I do remember like Akka thinking back like he now like everyone is aware of like even before like Kellis was who he sort of was to these people like everyone was aware of um like their chats at the fires and stuff and like now
yeah.
he is like the sorcerer who loved who became like the warrior prophet's wife and stuff like that like
Mm-hmm.
that's just yeah um so
Yeah.
that sort of like position will like to echo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that wasn't all the way back here, right? That was early. It was a different sequence.
yeah, I think it was in either one of my chapters because I remember he also mentioned something about himself like about how people treated him before and now how people treat him now. It was when he went to go. I think it was when he went to go see. It was actually your chapter when he went to go see Callus in the garden.
Oh, at the
And
very
so
beginning. Yeah, yeah.
how
Okay.
people treat him now is where I was thinking of that. And I think
Mhm.
that was also mentioned the fire and his relationship and how he's known to be kind of. I think people don't know really how to treat him too much because it's like he is basically um, he's basically blasphemy with being a mage, but at the same time, Kel's is basically what Kel says goes. So, and that's where we're at. I mean, that's a good segue because he talks about his dream and he says how much is bearable. Then this reflects on why it's more bearable is because of Kellis. and he goes talks to Kells, and Kells basically tells Akka that thus can be rewritten by him, and what he says and who is damned is like up to me. So I won't be damned. Like because he talks about it, it's oh, why are you still so troubled? It's like don't you know that I'm the prophet? Like I will you won't be damned under because I say so in a sense. Um, and he's still worried about it. Akira is. And we see at the end of the chapter where Sarah and the rest of the mandate are still discussing about reeling about the moments of like understanding about the Nasa Rimbor, and they're riddling Akka with questions to ask him or just questions in general about the motives of Kellis and like what he does, like every minute detail. And then again, they're still trying to bargain. The mandate is still trying to bargain, basically try to get as much information out of him and basically kind of control him. And it's like Kellis just like, all right, tell your school that I told you this. And he says to Sarah and the mandate, like, you do not have control of the holy war, and do not lash out because you don't have this control and bitterness or in spite. Just know that you are a player, and I'm really the person that's moving the board. So I'm in control here, and no, Sarah didn't like that. So
No, sir.
yeah, and that's pretty much it of chapter 4. So
Well, that is 4 of 17. It's crazy. It's basically already 25%. But yeah, I get it. I thanked you for your flexibility already, but I do want
mm,
to thank you for carrying me. It's been kind of a jumble of a few days for me. So, and I read these chapters at intermittent times. Didn't necessarily take my best notes, but that does not mean I'm not excited for the rest of the book. So only up from here. A bit of a rocky episode, but not in part to you. So thanks.
no
Um,
problem, no problem. I do like some parts of the book, and even with your chapters, I don't take notes on your chapters. I take notes on like mine. But there's some
yeah,
talking points that I like once you start talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably mention that. Oh yeah, I probably should
yeah,
mention that.
yeah. Totally. Yeah, well, I mean, what I usually do when I'm going through the ones that I know I'm not going to be going through the details on, like um, there'll typically just be quotes, and then to be honest, like sometimes I'll like let's say you're covering chapter 2, and like I have a quote down for chapter 2. Sometimes I just like I can't even necessarily remember why I wrote this down, so
Mm,
I need to I need to up the context a bit. But I mean, typically though, since you will get into the weeds. The same kind of thing. Like, if there was a talking point that stood out in my mind, then it'll come back to me.
mm.
So good stuff. All right. Well, so this will be going up, I guess 2 Mondays after last Warrior Prophet episode. Um, and then from there, it'll be yeah, just back to the normal schedule, 1 a week. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you in the next one.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks. Bye.